I'm not going to name any names, but sometimes when technology has something going really well and then they switch it on you, it's just not ideal. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a fair way
I'll
to
say this. You can see that I clearly have an iPad in front of me. And, you used to be able to split your screen on the iPad. You just hit the 3 little dots at the top. And apparently my iPad updated while I was sleeping last night. And now it's completely different. Like, completely different. And Scott was just trying to show me how to get through it. So
I was using AI to talk us
it worked.
through.
It did work, but it used to be way easy. Just hit the little 3 dots and it made it, boom, split view.
There's got to be another shortcut that we'll figure out. So
yeah,
we'll
got it.
Have our people talk to
Apple,
Steve Jobs' people.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out. Okay, Kratz, don't worry.
I'm not worried at all. Technology. That's why Manfred wants to centralize all the technology so that just for the betterment of all of Major League Baseball, right?
Yes, everything all the same, always at once. Anyway, speaking of Major League Baseball and bringing everyone together, this weekend we're excited for the BBWAA Awards Gala. It includes the game's top stars, award winners from last year, and we got a little thing to show you.
What a night. He was absolute anthem. Came up. 103. Oh. Right-handed greatest.
All right, that's the BBWAA, a little sizzle. Looking forward to it. What do you think, Kratz? Does it get you hyped? That's your hype video.
I'm so pumped. Especially since it's in Midtown. The big fella doesn't get to Midtown Manhattan very often. And when you get there and people are wearing, AJ's going to be wearing a tuxedo. He's going to be looking like a penguin. Like, I love it. I love being in there. And the room is so massive. There's so many people that show up. And the big dogs are all going to be there. Skeens, Skubal, Shohei, Ron Judge. It's gonna be a fun night.
By the way, I have to, people that don't know, I am presenting Drake Baldwin his Rookie of the Year, NL Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. So I also have to give a speech, Scott and Erik.
There's nothing I'm more excited for.
I just don't know.
I
don't really know how I should go about this because, like, do I try to make it funny? Do I try to make my serious? Like, remember Corey Kluber last year was just dead serious the whole time. Do I just be dead?
No.
That's not really me, though, right?
No.
So you got to be yourself. It isn't about me. It isn't about me. But people also, if I just went up there and was like, Drake Baldwin hit 282 last year with 20 homers and 47 RBIs and was a great catcher.
Can I defend
Rookie
Corey?
of the Year?
He's Klubot.
That's what I'm saying. That's his personality.
His personality is blah, 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 Klubot, control, destroy, world on mound. But that's not you. So
that's what I'm saying. But he said, don't make it about me, right? But it's not.
Be yourself.
It wouldn't be about me.
Be yourself is important. So
yes.
We would like, and also I will say this, jokes hit there. So a joke would be fantastic. 3 would be great if you want to run them by your friends here to test it out.
I mean, I've called more people in the Braves organization in like the last 48 hours than I've talked to in a long time, trying to get some inside scoop on Drake Baldwin.
We haven't had him on the show yet. Hopefully we'll have him on this weekend.
Now we have to definitely have him
he's definitely coming on this weekend.
But I mean, like, it's hard when it's someone that you don't really know other than saying hello to him. So then, I've talked to Snit. I've talked to Eddie Perez. I've talked to Greg Walker. I talked to Garrett Wilkinson, who was his A-ball and rookie ball hitting coach. Tim Hires is calling me later today.
Can you talk to him, or you'd rather just do that when you're there because you'll have time before?
I'd rather just do that there.
Yeah, so it's more casual.
Yeah.
Drink in hand. What's up? I'm about to talk about you. Anything
last
you
want
words?
Me to throw in there, Drake, real quick at the end?
No, I'm good. Everything's cool. You'll do great. Really? Nothing? Like, I'm up here talking. You got a tuxedo for the man. A tuxedo.
Yeah, I did. I had to buy one too, by the way, which,
right.
Thank you, Mark. for that check that's hopefully going to come in the mail soon.
But
no, well, here's the problem. I mean, I didn't find out about this until it was too late. And when I found out, I was out of the country for 4 days. So I came back yesterday and I was like, okay, I need to get to Tuxedo. So you go to the rental places and they're like, we need 10 days. I'm like, what's the other option? They're like, buy one. I'm like, okay.
That's how they get you.
That is exactly how they got Mark. They didn't get me. They got Mark.
Can I give you a tip for when you talk to Drake?
Well, he's going to be right in the check or got foul territory. Thank you. You know what? Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you,
wait.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you,
Guys,
Michael.
I don't want to spend time on this right now. Hold on. I have an actual thing that's on my mind, and I think it's actually important for your delivery with Drake. Like Eric mentioned, you're going to go up to him. You're going to say, hey, I'm doing your intro. Is there anything you want me to say? Whatever. He's not prepared to answer that to you. So he's probably just going to be a nice rookie and say, oh, no, everything's good. Do your thing. I think you should go up to him with some type of icebreaker and be like, hey, I'm going to tell this fake story about how something, so that you get a reaction from him being, you know what I'm saying? Like, do something to shock the system so that he actually gives you some information. Go up to him and be like, hey, I heard that you almost played football or whatever. Just make something
He was
up,
a hockey goalie.
right? And then he's going to go, wait, that's not true at all. Oh, well, then tell me. What do you got? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do something to just
we can do that.
Switch it up with him a little bit.
Yeah, because if I just run up there and go, hey, Drake had a great year. He works really hard. Everyone I talked to said you were a really good worker when you were in the minor leagues.
Boring.
I mean, he hit 274, 19, and 80 RBIs. Do I just say that? Like,
No.
hey, cool, Drake.
No.
I don't know.
Opening day was his birthday, and that was his
From the
debut,
heart.
right?
From the heart, AJ. From the heart.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I know. It'll be from the heart, but I mean, there's got to be some sort of a funny thrown in there.
I have a few jokes for you. I'll give you one that I think will hit with the nerdy baseball audience. The Braves get a PPI pick for him winning Rookie of the Year. You know,
They barely do?
No, they get one.
Oh,
They
yeah.
get a PPI pick. It's the end of the first round. I think it's 26th that they get, right? This is that new system that rewards teams for calling up players and not holding them back. There's got to be some joke there where it's like, thank you to the Braves and for baseball to agreeing to finally let dudes like Drake get called up when they should get called up.
Yeah, but I don't
That's
really
too
want
much.
to
Wait, what about the other side of this? The Braves love you as it is. They love you more because you just got him a 26th pick on top of that little bonus.
Yeah.
No?
No.
Didn't hit,
That's not
Kratz.
really, because most people would be like, what is he talking about? You know? Like, so,
Then I'll come up and say, for those of you that like to know what the PPI system is,
Exactly.
let me call up resident
Mark
baseball
nailed it.
nerd.
Stick to hosting the show, Scott. I've got some ideas. I have a buddy of mine who's a speechwriter. We're going to talk, and it's going to be short. It's just a couple minutes. It's not a big, long thing.
Okay.
But I know Snit will be there, so I got to take some sort of shot at Snit. Just
Wait,
for him
do you-
retiring, you know.
I'm just doing quick research for you as we go here. Do you know what his sports background was?
Yeah, he was a hockey goalie.
Right, but like more than that, he was the hockey goalie.
Yeah, he was a goalie.
I have Wisconsin's #1 hockey goal scorer,
Oh,
both
scorer. He was
junior
a
and
scorer.
senior
Okay, see?
years, but was already set on baseball and went to Mizzou State. #1 scorer in a state that actually knows how to play
Yeah,
hockey.
true.
That's pretty cool
Yeah.
and pretty rare.
Apparently, we were supposed to get to Ken, but we're having more fun talking
Oh,
about
Ken's
this.
ready already? Great. All right, let's do it. Oh, real quick. BBWAA Awards Gala, Saturday, January 24th, Hilton, Midtown. It's not the Mid-Twan, so we're going to fix that for you. Live on the FT YouTube channel. Sorry, I have to. I can't.
Mid-Twan.
Anyway, yes, let's get to Ken. Let's hit the inside scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. And Ken, a fresh notes column came out this morning, so let's dive right into it.
Hold on. No, stop. I have a favor to ask of Ken before we dive into the notes. Ken, I have to wear a tuxedo on Saturday night. First of all, are you going to be there?
I'll be there, yes, but not in a
He's on
tuxedo.
coverage.
Okay, I have to wear a
on the set with
tuxedo,
us.
and I had to buy a bow tie, and I'm not talking about the clip-on bow tie. Will you teach me how to tie a bow tie? Can you teach me in under 5 minutes how to tie a bow tie? Or better yet, will you tie it for me?
I can help you with it, but it's difficult to do on someone else from me. Especially with you, I'll need a step stool, obviously. But I'm game to help you. Why do you have to wear a tuxedo, by the way?
Because I'm on the dais, whatever
Dais.
it's called.
Oh,
And I'm
big
presenting.
shot.
And I'm presenting, Ken, so I have to wear. Trust me, if it was my choice, I would go like Chris Sale last year, no tie, and like just a long sleeve shirt, but they said I have to wear one. So actually,
Well,
Ken,
I'll just
thank
be
you. You
wearing a
bought like
suit unless ordered otherwise. So I'll help you out.
Okay, thank you.
That's good video. Our social team is just like drooling right now, hearing that they're able to do a 2-minute behind the scenes clip with Ken trying to teach AJ how to tie a bow tie. Anyway, that was fun for 30 seconds. Let's get to business. So Ken, fresh notes column in The Athletic. Let's start with your take on Bo Bichette's deal / how the lockout isn't really holding back the big stars from big contracts, right? Or not the lockout.
Right. I
but the
found it
impending
interesting.
lockout.
Yeah, I found it interesting, Scott, just the idea that he would take a 1-year opt-out. And a couple of other players have done that as well. Imai's got one. Michael King's got one. There are a few players, a handful, that have in their deals 1-year opt-outs as well as 2-year opt-outs in the 3-year deals. So I found that interesting because, remember, we have the lockout coming on December 1st. It's a near certainty, of course. Doesn't mean we're going to miss games, but there is the chance in 2027 that part or all of the season will be canceled. I don't believe that's going to happen, but that possibility exists. And yet, Bo Bichette is willing to go back into the market. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One, because he's still going to be a young free agent. He'll be the same age next offseason that Kyle Tucker was this offseason. And one of Kyle Tucker's appeals is that he's entering his age 29 season. Also part of this is, if you remember the last lockout back in 23, I believe it was, or 21. I can't remember the year. But what happened right before the lockout was a free agent spending frenzy unlike any we've ever seen before. $1.4 billion was spent in one day as teams were trying to get in under the buzzer, trying to get players under contract before the lockout began. So that too would suggest that it's not going to be a problem for a guy like Bo Bichette. Maybe it's a problem for a lesser free agent, but a guy like Bo, no. And the other part of this, and actually the reason I got thinking about it, was a GM mentioned to me last week that it's been difficult to value players with 2 years of control left on the trade market. Difficult because, again, we don't know what 27 is going to look like. So if you're giving up prospects for a guy with 2 years of control, let's use Brendan Donovan as an example, are you giving up too much because you really only might get 1 year of control or 1+ years? Who knows? And the general consensus I'm getting from people in the game is that while we all understand that a lockout is going to happen, there's a lot of positive momentum with the sport right now, with the industry. And to miss a significant amount of time, even if the owners are hell-bent on a salary cap, that would be something that probably is not going to happen. Now, I'm not going to make any predictions on labor because who knows what will happen. But logically speaking, the way the game is right now, record revenues, coming off a great World Series, a better place aesthetically because of the pitch clock, the larger bases, all of the things that have happened in recent years, it would seem to me it would be kind of dumb to start missing games at this point, or at 27.
Agreed. I was going to ask you about something completely different, but you brought up a point, and I want to ask you about it. It's you said a spending frenzy like we had never seen before the last CBA expired. Is that because that the owners say, man, if we sign these guys to big money, they're going to be a little more hesitant to go to the union and say, hey, I can't miss a whole year. I can't miss part of the year because I'm making big money now. Do you think we'll say the same thing again between the end of the World Series and December 1st when the CBA expires?
I don't remember exactly, AJ, but that is not what fueled it, if I recall correctly. What fueled it was the simple desire to get in under the buzzer, as I said before, and get these players under contract. It wasn't to co-opt them in any way with regard to the negotiations. So I don't see that really being a factor in how this is going to play out. Perhaps the greater factor is teams might be less inclined to do what they did the last time, that crazy spending frenzy that I mentioned, when there is the threat or the possibility of a salary cap. That, I guess, could affect it, but I'm only guessing with that. It seems to me that the same mechanics likely would be in effect.
Oh, okay. Hi.
I said you do it.
Oh, sorry. My bad. I was reading the wrong thing. Ken, my next question is on Bellinger. Everyone's posting, much like what happened with Kyle Tucker. He's expected to sign soon. Is it soon today? Is it soon this week? Is it soon tomorrow? what do we expect for soon, and what do we expect? Do we even know the teams? And we know Yankees, but there hasn't been much other talk other than the Yankees.
I would say soon means within a week. I would expect it's going to happen within a week. We're getting closer to spring training now, believe it or not. And I would imagine not only does Bellinger want resolution, but the teams involved want resolution as well. Now, the question with a guy like Bellinger who lingers on the market is always, well, what's the rest of the market? Who is in there besides the Yankees? And we know the Yankees offer pretty much 5 years, 160, 2 opt-outs, big signing bonus, all these elements to it, no deferrals. It's seemingly a good offer, but could the Mets jump in? They still need a guy like Bellinger. In fact, I've always thought Bellinger was a better fit for them than Tucker simply because of his defensive ability and versatility. So the Mets certainly, after not getting Tucker, could be in the market for that kind of player. And the Blue Jays were the other big bidder for Tucker, 10 years, $350 million, as first reported by John Heyman. So why wouldn't they, with 2 outfielders coming off the books at the end of this season, Varsho and Springer, be involved in Bellinger as well? These are fair questions. And I always caution people on my show and on this show when I write that we don't know the full extent of what's going on. And I'm not trying to say there are mystery teams or anything like that, but usually there is more than one team in a market. And if there wasn't in this case, if Bellinger and his agent Scott Boras weren't trying to work things, then he would just take the Yankees deal, I would assume. But apparently they believe there might be something else out there, and who knows what that might be.
Is it possible, when you said the Blue Jays, it made me think, is it possible that they would have been loud, like, oh, we're in on Tucker, everybody knows that they're in on Tucker, and all of a sudden they're quietly in on Belly? Or does it normally say, okay, the MO is we hear about the teams that are in on players, and if they're not, then we're not hearing about a certain player like Belly? Because I'm also confused why they wouldn't be in on Belly.
First off, I don't know that they were loud about Tucker. We didn't really hear much about them for the longest time, and they don't talk at all. Actually, clubs don't talk at all about free agents because they're not permitted to under the CBA. They're very careful with that, actually. So it wasn't that. I guess what you're asking, Erik, is it possible that while they wanted Tucker, Bellinger is just as good a fit, or if not a better fit, and yeah, they're right in there too? I would say, why not? Why wouldn't they be? We've seen them active the entire offseason. We've seen them do big things already, and they had a big offer out for Tucker. Bellinger would not require the same kind of contract, of course, but at the same time, I would think, yes, that they're in their swing. I just don't understand why they wouldn't be, for that matter.
Especially with his versatility and a better defender. I guess Tucker's a better hitter, but there's definitely value there for Bellinger. Somebody that doesn't have value, based on what you wrote in your article, from what an executive said, is Zach Gallen, being the exact words I think you wrote were the least attractive free agent among the rejected qualifying offers. Now, that was not your words. It was an executive, correct? Is that something that, okay, so he's in that range where, like, that pick, that competitive pick is really hurting him? Or is that just like, okay, he's just the last chip to fall?
The point the executive was making was that there is always 1 or 2 guys who reject qualifying offers and linger on the market who aren't maybe at the same level as a Juan Soto last year or Kyle Tucker this year. Guys who are no-brainers to sign and give up draft picks for. Bo Bichette's another one. And most of the other qualifying offer free agents fit into that category. But there is always, it seems in this executive's opinion, a guy or two that kind of get hurt by the system the way it is, hurt by the qualifying offer. Zach Gallen might be one of those players. Now, I say might because we don't know how this is going to turn out. But would it surprise me if Zach Gallen, as a Scott Boras client, made a decision like a number of other Scott Boras clients have made in recent years, from Blake Snell to Matt Chapman to Alex Bregman, and take a shorter deal, go back into the market next year, perhaps, or the year after, without a draft pick attached, and at that point, maybe do better than he would do this offseason. He also had kind of a down year by his standards. He was not great for 4 months. Zach Gallen back to himself the last 2 months. So it seems that that's hurting him as well. But the executive's point was there are guys who get hurt by this. Pivetta was one last year. Pivetta didn't get the deal that he probably wanted. 4 years, $55 million was what it was from the Padres when he rejected the qualifying offer. The qualifying offer seemed to hurt him.
It hurts some guys. It doesn't hurt other guys. It's crazy. That's going to be, listen, we've talked about CBA. That's going to be a big thing in the CBA is the qualifying offer and the draft picks because teams hold it all to, it's a lot. There's going to be this offseason is going to suck, Ken. I'm not going to lie. Just because next offseason, as the deadline looms and all these things start, it's going to be awful. But I don't want to talk about that anymore. Yesterday we had Trent Rosecrans on, and he was talking about the Reds. Obviously, that's his squad. And I said, well, Hunter Green is available. And he said, you didn't hear that from me. I still don't believe it. So you said that the Reds are getting offers for their starting pitchers. Would they really trade one of those starters for prospects?
I'm with Trent. I don't believe that they're necessarily inclined to do that. They're pretty happy with their starting pitching. They consider it the strength of their team. And the only way they would do it is the only way that the Tigers would trade Tarik Skubal, the only way the Brewers will trade Freddie Peralta, all different circumstances. But teams will tell you, we'll do anything as long as it improves us for the short and long term. So are you going to make a deal for Hunter Green that's going to improve you short and long term? Good luck. I don't know that you can. And that goes for the other Red starters as well, Lodolo and Abbott, the entire top group. If they do it, and maybe accept younger players back, then they would have to backfill. And the options in free agency to backfill, sign another starter, are starting to dwindle. So I don't necessarily see it happening. And by the way, AJ, getting back to your point about how next offseason is going to be awful, it doesn't have to be awful. The two sides actually can reach an agreement, forge a new collective bargaining agreement before the deadline even comes about on December 1st. This has happened in the past. It happened in 2006. Hasn't happened recently, I know that. But again, it's not, or it shouldn't be, fait accompli. I know it is. Basically, the commissioner has already announced that there's going to be a lockout. I get it. But we accept this as reality when in reality, they can do other things. They can actually make an agreement.
I think they should because the game is in a good place. Let's get to somebody who was actually traded. Nolan Arenado, it's now come out in your notes column that there were two other teams that were in serious pursuit. Can you rank those two teams, the Athletics and the Padres, and exactly how they were going to deploy Nolan Arenado?
Yes. The Sacramento A's were one of those teams. They were going to use him at third base. And that is a position that they've been trying to fill. What happened in that case was they had a deal in place with the Cardinals, I'm told. And the deal was one in which they were taking on more money than the Diamondbacks ultimately did. Remember, the Diamondbacks are only paying $11 million of the remaining $42 million on Arenado's remaining 2 years. The A's were going to pay more, and in that respect, it was a better deal that the Cardinals would have gotten. But Arenado indicated that he'd rather that they continue negotiating with teams like the Diamondbacks. And the other team that was involved late was the Padres. The Padres wanted Arenado to play first base, and that would have been a position change for him. But this guy's a 10-time Gold Glove winner at third or whatever it is. I would feel comfortable that he could have adapted to first. And the Padres' thought process was, we don't want to really pay any of this. We want the Cardinals to pay the vast, vast majority because they are still looking for a starting pitcher, probably a pitcher with an AAV in the $8 to $12 million range. And that is where they wanted to put more of their money. They still want a bat as well, but based on their actions here and overall, you would think that what they're going to try to do here is get a very inexpensive bat and a pitcher, like I said, in that $8 to $12 million AAV range.
Speaking of pitchers in the 8 to 12 million AAV range, you mentioned Justin Verlander, and I actually saw him on Sunday and talked to him, and he said he's got interest from teams. He just hasn't gotten the right offer, and he's waiting for it. And plus, he's like, hey, if I wait until spring training, someone's going to go down, unfortunately, and then a team that is going to come to him and say, hey, can you do this? So there's offers. I don't know if there's offers out there, but there's definitely interest in Justin Verlander. Are there teams, you mentioned the Orioles, But how many teams do you think would be interested? Because I think he's the perfect fit, much like Max Scherzer was for Toronto last year, to go in and help a team put him over the top and get him to the World Series.
I agree with you. And he had a really good second half for the Giants. I know the first half wasn't what he envisioned, but he proved in that second half that he could pitch at a high level, not the old Justin Verlander level, but certainly a high level where he is an above average major league starter. Now, I don't know the exact teams interested. And the reason I wrote about the Orioles, I heard about them, and they are considering, of course, numerous options. And didn't want to overplay it in what I wrote, and I don't believe that I did. It's not close or anything like that. But Verlander is from Virginia. He knows Mike Elias, the Orioles GM, from his time in Houston, 2017 and 18. And of course, the Orioles are still looking for one more starter. Maybe it's at the top of the market. That's probably their preference, whether it's one of the great starters available in trade, Skubal, Peralta, if they're actually going to move, or someone like Framber Valdez. But Verlander could represent a fallback for them, much like Chris Bassett or another starter could. So that was one team. There are other teams still looking for starters. The Giants are one, actually. And the Mets, you can go right down the line. I don't know if the Mets would want to go back to Verlander. They're probably aiming higher as well. But do I expect he's going to pitch in 2026? I absolutely do.
As he should. As he should for me, at least.
As he should, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he pitched good. He pitched well in the second half and did some nice things. Remember how bad he was at the start, and he turned it around in the second half.
He did.
So, anyways, we'll see what happens.
Ken, are the Pirates going to spend more money, or are they just going to throw it around and be like, which hat is the baseball under? Oh, same payroll as last year.
Well, they're up a little bit. They're up about $8 million from the end of last season. So
$8 whole million? Wow.
Well, I'm just giving you what is the reality here. Right. And they have acquired Brandon Lau. They have acquired, of course, signed a free agent, Ryan O'Hearn. They would like to do more, yes. And I would expect that they're going to do more. They know, from what I understand, that they still are at least one batch short. And if they get another decent offensive player, I would anticipate that people will see them as a potential wild card contender. That's pretty good. So there are still a lot of hitters available on the market. Obviously, they're limited a little bit in the positions that they can pursue. Third base would certainly be one. But I do expect that they're going to still be active, and we'll see where this ends up. Because if you remember at the start of the offseason, the reason I wrote about this today was going back to the GM meetings. I was hearing that the Pirates and Marlins were signaling to agents that they were going to spend more this offseason than they have in the past. The Pirates certainly have, and they've certainly tried to do even more than they have, and have been rejected in a few cases. The Marlins are, according to Fangraphs numbers, $1 million below where they were at the end of last year. So they really haven't spent, other than on Fairbanks. They've made some interesting moves. So whether that all was just talk or whether there was something more there, in the Pirates' case, it wasn't just talk. They made some serious runs at some big players. But in the Marlins case, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, makes sense, Ken. Makes sense. All right, today's Hall of Fame day, Ken. You put out your ballot. Yes. I agree with most of your picks on there, but I have one question for you. And in your explanation, you said you didn't vote for Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez because of the steroid PED thing, but you voted for Andy Pettitte. And one of my things is Andy Pettitte admitted to doing a PED. He apologized, said, I did it, this and that. He said it was for recovery, but, Nelson Cruz had a parasite. Fernando Tatis had ringworm. Alvarado was trying to lose weight in the offseason. I mean, everyone has a thing. So then why did you vote for Andy Pettitte, but you won't vote for Manny and Alex?
It's in the article, the way I go about this and approach it. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I know people have their own opinions on this, and people are certainly entitled to their opinions, but my line, the line I draw here, is players who are confirmed to have used or tested positive after the league established firm rules and penalties. At the time Pettitte was doing it, that wasn't the case. It's the same as with Bonds and Clemens. Now, I didn't vote for Bonds and Clemens initially, but I eventually came around on them and others, because once we elected players who were strongly suspected to have used, and I'm not going to name names here, but we know that there are players in the hall now who have used. At that point, I felt, well, you couldn't exclude Bonds and Clemens. Now, with A-Rod and Manny, to me, they knew what was going on at that point when they were confirmed to have used. They knew what the rules were, and they still violated the rules. That is where I draw the line. I don't know that I'm correct in that. And I know people say you guys are the morality police. Whatever. We can be criticized for any number of things with regards to our votes, and people are fair to criticize us, or certainly permitted to criticize us. But that is my feeling. The hall vote is a very subjective, personal thing. You go by what you believe is right, and you go by what your instincts are. And the one thing I'll say about A-Rod in particular is that at the time, it wasn't just that he used PEDs. He sued the union. He sued the Yankees. He was conducting himself in a way that was kind of out there. Now, a fan might say, well, that doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter with regard to his Hall of Fame case. Okay, but I remember those times, and they weren't really happy times for baseball with all that going on.
Agreed. And listen, I agree with what you said. It was just I just wanted to hear your point. I know what you wrote in the article. And I agree with you. I've said that from the get-go. If you did it before 2004 or 5, when they started testing, and we don't know 100% what you did, even the anonymous, Mitchell report where they said this, how do we know that it was really, I don't know that answer, okay? But after 2005, when they started putting penalties on it, I've said this, if you get caught, then to me, you're out. And you know what you're doing. You're doing this knowing
right.
There is a rule on the Major League Baseball books. And I agree with you, but Pettit was the one guy who had come out and said, hey, I did this, I'm sorry. And I didn't know because, all the other guys, McGuire, so all the names you hear, Palmeiro, who then tested positive later, even though he denies it, right? Like, these are all guys that we were like, do we really know? We don't. And none of them got in, Bonds, Clemens.
No,
and
that's a fair question, AJ.
Pettit was the one who said yes.
It's a fair question that you ask, but certainly in this particular case with Pettit, if that was the reason why I would withhold a vote for him because he admitted it, we're essentially penalizing him for his honesty, where I voted for Bonds and Clemens, who never fully admitted it, really admitted it at all. That would seem to be an inconsistency that I would not be comfortable with. Now, I will say this in closing. A Hall of Fame ballot, any writer's Hall of Fame ballot pretty much contains all kinds of inconsistencies. It's almost impossible to maintain consistent arguments, not just with the PED guys, but with the others that we're considering as well. That's the nature of it. The beauty of the process to me is that we all do have our own opinions. And in the baseball writers' case, there are some 400 of us. And my hope always is that with that number and the variety of opinions you will have, that we get to the right place. We often do. We don't always. And I wrote in the column that I believe we blew it on Mattingly and Dale Murphy and others because we penalized them for things that they didn't accomplish instead of really looking at what they did accomplish, even though it was over a shorter period of time. So our standards evolve, our voting evolves, our thought processes evolve. It's kind of an organic thing. And it's healthy to debate all this stuff. It's great. These are great conversations, if you ask me. I know fans get all bothered and hot and lathered about this stuff. To me, it's the beauty of baseball, man, that we argue, we have fun talking about it, and we disagree.
I agree. That's part of the...
And the numbers are going to change too because, 300 wins
yes,
we're probably never going to see again. The home runs, the 500 homers might not be the benchmark anymore because there's, we can get into an argument with about Stanton. If he gets to 500 homers, is he all, there's a lot of things.
Changed.
Yeah, the numbers have changed. Now, 3,000 hits might be something we never see again. So that might be an auto in.
But Posey's going to get in with like half that, right?
Yeah, Mauer got in with nothing close to that.
Yeah, things have changed on every front. There's a little more, in some ways, quality over quantity on some of the guys too because they have shorter careers.
I heard Kratz say Molina, but Molina had a bunch of Gold Gloves and he had 2,000 hits. So
yeah,
and for a catcher, 2,000 hits means something.
Yep.
Especially when you're one of them that Ken didn't vote for.
You didn't get an honorary. There's still no. I was going to say. Honorary vote. It's a hot topic in the sport.
Honorary vote.
Yeah. If everyone gave an honorary vote to Rick Porcello, guess what? You'd be a Hall of Famer. Just throwing that out there. If everyone said, "Oops, I gave the same honorary vote," you would accidentally be a Hall of Famer. So it's not my favorite thing. Anyway, Ken, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll check out the coverage later to see who gets in, and we'll see you this weekend. We're looking forward to it.
Yes, me too.
All right, that's Ken. That's Fair Territory, or what you're looking at on the screen right now. Coming up again on Thursday. Yesterday's episode fresh with a little coverage on the Bellinger situation, which we're about to get into, on the aftermath for the Mets after the Bo Bichette signing, and a lot more. But if there are questions that you asked, I know many of you asked questions in the chat, and then we took it in our own direction today, then Grill and Ken on Thursday is the spot for you.
Charging the mound.
Yeah, let's charge the mound, and let's talk about Tarik Skubal first. So Evan Petzold, who covers the Tigers on a daily basis, said Scott Boras says he remains open to negotiating Skubal's salary with the Tigers before an arbitration hearing using current comparable contracts, not outdated benchmarks like David Price's $19.75 million in 2015. Quote from Boras, "We are open to negotiate." It's funny, Kratz, you've probably seen this because you've got kids for this age, but the 2016 thing has been a thing over the past week or two. No, you haven't seen this, where people are posting like, "Oh, here's what I was doing in 2016.
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen
Wow.
it, but
Maybe it's with my age group, but everyone's like, this is the common post.
Oh, everyone's doing it.
You saw it, right?
Yeah, it's all over Instagram.
But I love this. They go, "Well, since everyone's doing it,
I have to do
it." That's like when the influencers go, "I know you're all asking me about my skincare routine," and it's like, are they? Or
which one do you care less about, the 2016 trend or the Beckham thing that's happening? Have you seen that? That's we don't have time to get into all that, but wow.
I mean, I don't know.
Have you
that
not seen
one?
the David Beckham and his son and his wife? It's a whole. Trust me, I got the whole rundown this morning on it. It's crazy.
There's nothing more boring than a bad social media trend. So anyway, I don't care what you were doing in 2016, but in 2015, I do care that we're trying to use the comp from back then. So anyway, Boras took his little slight shot. Did you learn anything from this quote? Do you think that there will be some type of an agreement that goes down before we get to the arbitration hearing? Or does the league, which is paired up with the Tigers on this one, right? The Labor Relations Board is working with them, so they have a huge say. Do they feel like it's not worth giving in and saying to Boras, all right, we're going to push this to 26, 27, 28 plus when the previous number is 19.75?
it just depends on how far the Major League Baseball wants to dig their feet in. This isn't a Tigers versus Skubal thing. So any fans who are like, oh, he's going to be pissed off at the Tigers. This is a Major League Baseball versus essentially the Players Association or the future of every really good pitcher that reaches arbitration and has won Cy Youngs. I mean, Tarik Skubal is sitting there going, Paul Skeens, I'm just kind of trying to help you out here. But it's a landmark arbitration case. They're sitting there going, okay, Scott Boras has done nothing in his career more than growing the salaries for the next player. He has always, has it looked smooth to fans? No, it hasn't. Has he done the best for his clients and his future clients that are probably still in high school right now that he doesn't even know he has yet? The next superstar? Tarik Skubal is the next superstar. So he's trying to push that level of where the arbitration process is behind. And if landmark players like Tarik Skubal, like Juan Soto a few years ago, don't push this number, then Major League Baseball wins. If we're looking at arbitration as a case of winning and losing. And Major League Baseball looks at it as, if we don't win this, this is going to be, I'm not going to say catastrophic, but this really moves the needle. Do you have to do incredible things? Yeah, you got to win back-to-back Cy Youngs. You have to be the best pitcher in your respective league. Well, they don't have to look too far over to the National League and say, if we don't do this, what could Paul Skeens get? So Major League Baseball is going to dig their feet in, and I don't think there's a number that Scott Boras says is fair that Major League Baseball also says is fair. I think Major League Baseball knows that $19 million is definitely well short of where they should be. And I think Scott Boras thinks $32 million is a little bit over where they should be. But I don't think that happy medium is going to be a happy medium. I think it truly is a landmark case that if Boras continues down the path that he's always been, I think they win this case. I think they win it because of the fact that it's so dated back to 2015, 2016 of where that quote price should be for him, for Skubal.
Okay, well, there's a couple things on this. One, the fact that we're using 2016 is crazy. Okay, look at the way that salaries have gone up. 2015, sorry, the way salaries have gone up. Okay, but it was his 2016 salary that they went, right, wasn't it?
No, I think it was his 2015 salary.
So that's over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's crazy. Also, Boras has a couple things. One, they can, because he's in his 6th year, they can use free agent contracts, and that is a huge help to Tarik Skubal, especially when young or guys like Verlander and Scherzer have signed like 1-year deals for 30, 40 million. And these short-term deals, guess what? That helps the player in these negotiations. Now, MLB, of course, wants to go low. I don't think that they thought that Boras was going to go this big. I thought they were like, oh, we'll go 19. Boras will go 25, right? But he went 32. So now there's a monster gap in between here. The middle's 25 and a half. So Boras is probably like, hey, you get to 28. Yeah, we'll think about it. But that would be such a huge jump for the league to go from 19 to 28, because then as soon as, if they say yes to 28, then when Skeens gets to this spot or someone else down the road, they're going to be like, well, 5 years ago, Tarik Skubal got 28. I have a rookie of the year, maybe 2 or 3 Cy Youngs, this or that. I should be at 35, right? Depending on how, everything goes with salaries. So that's why MLB is fighting so hard for this. Now, the other thing is there's also a third component in play here. The owners hate arbitration. Okay, because they don't want arbitration. They've had one arbitration since the players got arbitration, Marvin Miller back how many ever years ago, right? So if they can prove that Tarik Skubal is not worth more than David Price was in 2015, that's another chip they can put on their negotiating table and say, look, guys, your best pitcher, he got screwed in arbitration. We don't like arbitration. Maybe you guys shouldn't like arbitration either. And they can try and get rid of it. They could use that in the CBA and say, one of your best players on the field he got what a guy 15, almost 12 years ago, less than what he got, right? And then the Players Association is going to go, well, we lost, maybe we should look at changing this. So again, there's a third thing in play, and it's kind of the overriding factor in all of Major League Baseball right now. It's this damn CBA, and I'm already tired of talking about it. We got like 12 more months to talk about this.
It's a factor in everything that happens right now, but also here's another factor. The arbitration panel, unless stuff has changed, is 3 humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 humans, and they make their case to each other on where they're going to vote, right? So even if you get one side, one the other, there's going to be someone that splits this up. Every once in a while, there's a case where it seems obvious that one side's going to win and the other side wins. Why? Because these people are not the most educated on baseball, and they want it to be that way for some reason, right?
Well, they want it because they're not supposed to be influenced, whether they're like have a team or whether they have something going on, right? So they don't want that. And again, as someone that's been through this process, I've been in this process, I've been in this room, I've been through this whole thing. They don't tell you why you won. They don't tell you why you won. They don't tell you what the number was they came to a conclusion on. They just give you a you win or you win. And there's no explanation. This isn't like a law case, right? Where the law, after the judge makes a decision, then they write like a thing explaining why they made this decision or why they're doing this, or like the Supreme Court, well, we voted this way because of this case back 100 years ago, whatever it was. They just say, hey, Skubal won, the Tigers won. There is no explanation. You get one phone call from your agent. They call the union, and they call the owners, and the union calls you or your agent. They say, you won, you lost. And that's it. It's over. And that's what you get. But there's no explanation. There's nothing.
The problem with that is these people want to keep their jobs.
Of course.
And this is the biggest case of all time. So I do think they're going to be weighing which side holds more influence in them keeping their jobs. They're human beings. That's a part of it, right? They get compensated nicely to be able to handle this. So
and they get a nice vacation for 2 weeks in Arizona or Florida, depending on this year it's in Arizona. So they get a nice little vacation.
There are factors at play. It's like, one of those movies where both sides are trying to pick the jury and it gets all crazy. Remember that one movie? Mm-hmm. It was like, who is it? Gene Hackman? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? It's like that, where they're like figuring out, is this person going to be for us or against us? And obviously these people have their jobs on the line if they get fired for it, right? I mean, I'm saying if they pick the wrong side and then the other side's going to try and fire them. So anyway, we'll get into it as we lead up to the case. Tiger Territory is all over this too. So make sure you check out the show, available on YouTube and wherever you get your pods. Runaway Jury. That was a good movie. Anyway, next guest. Here we go. Susan Slusser joining us right now. And you can check her out on the brand new Splash Hit Territory, about 6 weeks old, as a regular contributor there. FP Santangelo hosting, great show, and of course checking out all of Susan Slusser's articles as well, including many in the San Francisco Chronicle about what the Giants are up to this offseason. Susan, great to see you, and yeah, let's get right to the good stuff. So fans have been asking all day, actually, Giants questions about what's next and are they really involved on the second base market? Are you about to make everyone in that crowd very happy or a little disappointed?
Sorry, I got a very angry cat right now who wants to get fed. You know what? This could be the shortest segment you guys have ever had because the Giants just are like, they seem like they're doing almost nothing. You know, yes, they've filled out their rotation sort of with back end guys, but it's been underwhelming. And all the signaling from ownership has been that they are not going to spend a ton. They're not going to do long-term deals. I'm a little baffled because, yes, the Dodgers are the power, not just in the division, but in baseball, they're looking up in the division for sure. But they missed the playoffs by 2 games last year. All you have to do is make the playoffs. The Giants dynasty showed that. They were never the best team those years. They got some very clear needs, and I feel like they need to address them.
But doesn't Buster, if ownership says, okay, we're not going to go big on anybody, isn't Buster's MO? I mean, I guess he's not been a GM for this long to have a GM MO, but just the way he played, the way he's talked since he's been a GM, doesn't that just mean he's going to go after one of these trades? Or is there something that ownership says, no, we don't want to risk the future of our organization?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you walk that line as sort of a new GM, but he's Buster Posey. You know, he comes with his own cachet. He's a franchise icon, and he's a part owner, you know, very small percentage, but he's in that ownership group. They obviously do listen to him, and he has said repeatedly when he goes to them with an idea, they have been very supportive. So I'm not sure what to make of that, right? He knows their needs. First of all, they need another outfielder. They need a very strong defensive outfielder at the least. But with their offense being mediocre at best most of last season, they need a really good defensive outfielder who can also hit, a Cody Bellinger type, or, you know, at least Harrison Bader, someone like that. We have seen really no indications. They made calls on a lot of guys early on, but we just haven't seen any major action. But he's Buster Posey, and we do know he likes to take big swings. The Devers deal, hiring Tony Vitello out of the college ranks. I mean, these things are really huge decisions, and he did talk ownership into both of them. I think he needs to try to talk ownership into adding probably another starting pitcher, but certainly a good bat who can play in the outfield, because their outfield defense was the worst in the league last year, and their offense was just not enough to compete with.
Okay, before I get to my follow-up question, I want to know this. Is that because Buster Posey doesn't want to spend money? Because surely he wants to spend money, and he knows that better players and more money makes you a better team. So does he not have the cachet with the ownership group? And I know he's Buster Posey, and I know all that stuff, where he can go to them and say, hey, we need another $25 million to add a outfielder, a starting pitcher, or a bullpen, or whatever they might need, or a second baseman. Whereas ownership just like, nope, because they sell out San Francisco when they're decent. That place is rocking. They have the, all the stuff going on around it. So why is that not happening where they can go and say, hey, I need 25 more million, guys?
I mean, he seems convinced that when he wants to spend big, they will let him. We just aren't seeing it. So again, there's just sort of a disconnect between what he's saying and what ownership is saying, and then what we're seeing happening / not happening at all, really. Maybe they're waiting to pick up some deals closer towards spring training. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen, but early on, The Athletic reported that they would not be in MI. Giants fans were outraged, but as it turned out, they could have afforded MI if they wanted. Absolutely. They could have been in on, maybe not Tucker, but certainly they could be in on Cody Bellinger. Greg Johnson told me at the very start of the offseason, right after Vitello was hired, actually, that the team doesn't want those big contracts. They've got 5 right now. They don't want a ton on the books, particularly starting pitching. But he also said they're not afraid to go over the luxury tax, which they've done before. But last year their payroll was down. And again, they just missed the postseason. So, look, a lot of reasons for that. I thought that Posey's moves at the time at the deadline and moving essentially the back end of the rotation with Camilo Doval and Tyler Rogers, I thought that was the right thing to do. As it turned out, the bullpen just wasn't enough down the stretch with Randy Rodriguez getting hurt, and they just missed out. So sometimes your windows, you got these 5 guys, your windows can be short. You got to strike, even if the Dodgers are in your division. So it's going to be interesting to see this next 4 weeks or so. I think they still have to do something more, and in part to get the fans excited again. Their attendance was way up last year. Take advantage of that.
Great. So why don't they just follow what the Dodgers do and do high AV short-term deals? I don't know. It seems like a win to me. Give opt-outs like they did with Chapman, and man, it's weird. He ended up staying. I don't know, but that's
they got the nice deal with Snell 2 years ago.
True. Just a
worked out
thought.
great.
If you had to pick one thing that they need, would it be an outfielder? Would it be a starting pitcher? Would it be a second baseman? If Buster Posey has one bullet in his gun and he goes to ownership and says, "I want to shoot this one bullet," which one would help them the most?
For me, outfield, just because their outfield play was so bad, and that outfield is enormous, and you could fix the offense at the same time. That's like a twofer if you get a really competent all-around outfielder. You could maybe, if it's a center fielder, fingers crossed, you can move Jung-Hoo Lee over, and I think he'd actually play really well in right. He's got a decent arm. He just can't quite handle that center field from what we saw, and the metrics support it. Sorry again, that's Sugar Ray, everybody, named after the boxer, not the band.
Nice. But you were talking about the outfield defense, and you just brought up Jung-Hoo Lee. Wasn't he brought in to be an elite defender? Isn't he being paid $100 million? Did that shoulder injury that he sustained slamming into the wall or jumping over the wall, did that hurt his elite defense, or was that a poor misread when they signed him?
I think there are a lot of things going on. Running into the wall certainly didn't help, but after he came back from that shoulder surgery, he plowed straight into the wall again, right, really early on in the season. So I don't think there's necessarily fear. He is a little tentative when it comes to being the guy in charge in center, which is, not ideal in center field. A lot of miscommunication, but he also had a lot of different guys he was playing with, particularly in right. The numbers at Oracle do skew defensive metrics. There's no doubt about that. If we isolated road defense, it's a little bit better. I think he is a competent outfielder. I just think he might play a little bit better in right if you get a real top-notch center fielder. And then, you start to look like you have an okay defense. Elliot Ramos took a step backward in left. He has said that. He got some stuff kind of in his head, maybe focused, a little bit too much on some wrong things, and he feels like he will be better. If that outfield is better, maybe there's your 2 wins right there. Or
is it in the prospects, the great prospects? That's what built the Giants team, and then they supplemented it in 10, 12, 14, 16, whenever Crawford and Posey retired and Brandon Belt was already out of the game. Isn't that how the Giants push themselves over? Are these prospects ready? Is Bryce Eldridge going to be the guy, or are the Giants afraid to let him be the guy?
Well, I think the pitching might be a little bit more of a sure thing, guys. I think Birdsong will figure things out. I think Whisenhunt is pretty close to being very much big league ready. Bryce Eldridge is I think he will flourish as a hitter. He doesn't really have a position. He's learning first base. He's very driven. He said the other day at their first Fan Fest that he wants to be a Gold Glove winner. Great. He'll be working with Ron Washington. He will definitely improve. But Rafael Devers will be the first baseman the bulk of the time. So you're talking about a 21-year-old DH. I think he's very valuable as a trade chip. I don't think anyone wants to see him moved. But if the Giants could get a big piece, especially somebody that has some service time that's controllable, I think that they would consider moving Bryce Eldridge. He might be most valuable, but like that. But, it's also would be very, very painful to lose a guy who's got 40 plus potentially home run power. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand with that. I think he is big league ready from the offensive standpoint. And he was playing last year with a bad wrist. He had a bone spur, had surgery, said everything's going great. He's ready to go, essentially full go for spring. So I think he will be nothing but better this year.
I want to know about Patrick Bailey, Susan. I think one time you said he reminded you of me, but clearly not, because I could hit and he couldn't catch, and he can catch and can't hit. So is there improvement? Is there a next step? Because he is so good defensively. Can they just get something out of him offensively? And I know he was better in the second half, but is there more in the tank offensively? Because I think this guy defensively has the ability to be a star, but can they figure out a way to get some offense out of him?
First of all, I want to see the tape of me comparing
We have
Bailey
it
to you.
You said at one time that he reminds you of me, and I was like, that poor guy.
He's a very good talker. Maybe that was it.
Oh, that was it. Perfect.
You know what? He was much better in the second half, actually. He figured some things out. I would like to see how he does. And that was really the knock on him. His first 2 years, he really wore down in the second half. And some injuries contributed the year before last for sure. But he got nothing but better throughout last year. Great sign. I think when he put some of the things that he realized about his swing together, it's tough. He's a switch hitter. It's tough to keep both those swings going and run a pitching staff for sure. I've asked a few times, has anybody ever considered, having him just hit righty or just hit lefty, if whichever way he's more comfortable. And nobody's considered that. I don't think that that's an option. And I think the fact that he really has picked up the pace on both sides, I think they're pretty happy with him. And you know what? He's so elite defensively. Even, there's an argument that the ABS system will take away some of the pitch framing value. He's such a good guy. He's still going to be a Gold Glove catcher no matter what they do with any sort of replay. So I think they would be just fine if he hits 240 and 12 to 15 homers or something like that. I think there's more power in there. But they'd even just take 240. You know what? He's also a clutch guy. He is one of the hitters that I think the Giants are really happy about if he's up with a runner on third. And he's very, he will get you a sac fly. He'll hit the ball on the ground the other way. So I like Patrick Bailey. I think he's underrated as an overall player.
Susan, big picture question for you. I am old enough to remember when Dodger fans were really jealous and envious of Giants fans. We have the ultimate 180 in place right now, but let's not forget the dynasty the Giants had, winning every other year, 3 titles this century, really, really successful, right? That was probably the most successful run of the century up until this point. My simple question for you is, what is the perception of the Dodgers right now by Giants fans? I'm just going off my little sample size of fans that text me, oh, it's not fair, blah, blah, blah. And then I text them back Frank McCourt. And then they usually stop because I'm like, all you have to do is go back a little bit to a time when they were dominating. They were much more well run, and we're in a shift at the moment.
Absolutely. It's funny. I get the same sort of response from fans, and then Dodgers fans always hop on and go, "Y'all are obsessed with us. Like we're in your heads." It's just funny. Baseball, everything winds up being cyclical, and this Dodgers, they look set for a very long time, but Giants fans got a little bit spoiled there, and I think there's some residue from that, and they expect everything right now. And sometimes you do have to be a little patient. But I'm a little bit with them because I do see that there's a core here that could be very good, and that could be a at least a playoff regular, with a little bit more help. So, I feel for the Giants fans, but at the same time, they've been awfully spoiled for a pretty long time.
Susan, can we go to your Hall of Fame ballot? Because I love that you put it out there. So many people don't put it out there. So good for you for putting it out there, because the biggest question will be, from me, your Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez inclusion on your ballot. What is that thought process for you when you went, okay, I'm going to fill that in?
Well, I used to not vote for any of the steroids guys, or sort of especially when Bonds and Clemens first hit. I didn't vote for them for the first few years, and then you see guys who have been connected with possible PEDS use go in, and then for me it was when La Russa, Cox, Selig, there was one offseason, they all went in, and I thought, well, the architects of the steroid era, such as it was, are all going in. And these are all people who, kind of looked the other way. People knew what was going on, could have maybe done more to institute drug testing earlier. And, I could go through the whole list of, well, there's guys who are racists and, also wife beaters and all sorts of things in the Hall of Fame. There are so many spots on the ballot that actually say consider character. And I do think that's important. Absolutely. Steroid use was cheating, 100%. I don't think people disagree with that, but there are plenty of steroid users who are in there now. We're seeing more all the time. I feel like it's unfair to hold it just to Bonds and Clemens. And yes, Manny and A-Rod failed actual tests, but I've sort of just gone with this hall needs to be represented by the best players of the era. And I will tell you, especially Manny Ramirez is maybe the greatest right-handed hitter I've ever seen. A-Rod obviously dominated the game for a while. Leaving these two guys out and Bonds and Clemens, it's not a representative Hall of Fame. It's just not for me. And I understand the flip side. I get it. I have no problem with people who feel opposite. But at this point, Beltran looks like he's going to go in, and he was there for the whole Astros thing. So, cheating's cheating, and we seem to be fine with some of it, but not all of it.
Are you the morality police now, Susan? What changed about you? I don't remember you being like this.
I'm the opposite.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Let everybody in.
Listen, yeah, you didn't vote for me, and I didn't do steroids, Susan, so I'm disappointed. But
fair.
Yes, exactly. But I asked Ken the same question. Andy Pettit admitted to doing PEDs. Everyone now is voting for him. Manny and A-Rod are not on a lot of ballots. And for me, as a former player that played through, listen, I played with Barry Bonds. I played against Manny. I played against A-Rod. I played against all these guys on this ballot, right? Some that are in the Hall of Fame that have been rumored to have done things, and some that, are rumored to do things that was never proven that aren't in the Hall of Fame, okay? But for me, the line is 2005. If you did them and you got suspended, you knew what you were doing, you were cheating, you're out. If anything before that, I can't say what you did because I don't know, okay? I don't know what everyone did. I don't know who did this or did that or whatever. That's not my place to do this to anybody, not judge anyone. But if you did it and you got caught, you're out.
Yeah. That's certainly a fair take. I don't think anybody's takes on this is really unreasonable. I see it. I have just decided at some point, in general, we all seem okay with some forms of cheating in the Hall of Fame. These were great players. Even this argument I don't love. I saw Tom Verducci shoot this one down really well once, which was like, if so-and-so was a Hall of Famer before they started doing steroids, they should be in the Hall of Fame. And he was, at that point, Jeter was still playing, but toward the end of his career. And Verducci said, well, does that make it okay for Jeter to start doing steroids now? It doesn't. Like, it's either okay or it's not okay. In my mind, I don't think it's really okay. But I think the Hall needs to represent the eras. That's where I've come down.
Okay, so they should have a steroid era. But are you okay with like Phil Niekro, who maybe did put Gaylord Perry, who, by the way, you're welcome, Gaylord, for wearing your number last and getting it retired in San Francisco. But are you okay with them? Because they were accused of maybe putting some stuff on the ball every once in a while to make it move funky. Is that cheating? Right? You mentioned Beltran. People call him a cheater because of the trash can thing. At some point, Altuve is probably going to go in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be brought up as part of this. So it's like, what do we do here? Because there might, yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. The Hall of Fame is a tough decision. I wish I had a vote, and then I could vote the way I wanted, and then everyone could tell me how wrong I was. So we're here to tell you how wrong you are on certain things, Susan. It's okay.
That's totally fair. This is one where I don't think that there's no easy answer. There just isn't. There are strong arguments to be made everywhere, but this whole era is starting to become very underrepresented in the Hall in general. And two of the greatest players are not in and look like they might never be in. With plaques, there is like, there's Barry Bonds memorabilia in the Hall of Fame. There is Roger Clemens memorabilia in the Hall of Fame, but these were two of the greats. They should be in.
The whole process is tainted, but it's fun to talk about, and we don't cover it a ton in general, but this week, of course, is the time to do it as we get the announcement coming up later today. Susan, awesome to catch up with you. We always appreciate it. Tell Sugar Ray we say hello, and the time is now Sugar Ray's again, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I should have stuck him in a room. I didn't realize. Thanks, guys.
I like the little sound here and there. Thank you, Susan. You're great. We appreciate you. Check out Susan's work in the San Francisco Chronicle, and then also, of course, you can often catch her on Splash Hit territory. There's a nice shot of Susan FP and Logan Webb, one of the early shows they did, so you can scroll back for that one. Part of the FT network. Be right back. Nobody likes a bloated cell phone bill. It can consume you. It can take over. It can be very annoying. So I know that 2025 ended Kratz, and that's when you have your end of year sales, but there actually is still one sale that is running until the end of the month.
Mint Mobile. They still have their 50% off their unlimited premium wireless offer that you got to go and get and take advantage of because it's not necessarily going to be around all the time.
And all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Quit overspending on wireless with 50% off unlimited premium wireless. Plans start at $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months. Plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. Everyone's new favorite song, Where Will Belly Sign? Jim Bowden with this tweet this morning. Cody Bellinger is mulling over multiple offers from multiple teams and is expected to make a decision shortly. That does usually mean decision in the next, let's call it 24 to 72 hours, right? Where there's a soft timeline on the player and representation side. I don't want to say it always is the case, but it is often the case, right? We started to hear the Kyle Tucker whispers last week, and then within about 24 to 36 hours, the decision came. So I do think that we're going to learn about Cody Bellinger's ultimate destination for the 2026 season in the next 1 to 2 days. Mulling multiple offers. To me, AJ, and I know we've talked about this a lot this week, this means I've got the long-term thing from the Yankees. I probably have a short-term offer from the Mets that is at a higher yearly rate. And then a team like the Blue Jays might fall in either category. My guess is that they're in the longer-term category and maybe kind of a hybrid of both, where they still give you an opt-out somewhere within that deal as well. Just naming three that I think are likely in there. Do we really think that they're in there?
No, I'm not saying they're. I'm just saying what we just had Susan Slusser. She said they need a bat in the outfield that can play defense really well. That sounds like Cody Bellinger. Why not do? I said it kind of as a joke, but why not do what they've done with Chapman and they did it with Snell? Now Snell went to the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have also done these they just didn't want Tucker, right? Short-term deal. The Mets did it with Bo Bichette. Why can't the Giants go to Bellinger and be like, hey, we'll give you, 4 years, 150 with an opt-out after the first 2 years? I don't know. Just throwing random numbers out there to get them there, though, and get the fans excited.
They're also not near the luxury tax number as far as I'm doing my math here. So I've got the latest number pulled up. They're at 212. The luxury tax number is, I believe, in the 240s. So they're still well behind that number. And the point is, that's when you start to get taxed and some penalties start to hit you. They're not even close to some of the teams that are involved that end up paying essentially double. We go over this all the time, right? The teams don't look at it as, hey, I signed this player, I'm really putting double the money together against my payroll. They spread it out, right? Hey, this is the responsibility of our whole payroll. But from a fan perspective, that is how the money is laid out, right? If they go over that mark, right? Like the Mets, for example, if they spend 35 a year on Bellinger, it's more like 75 for this coming season.
Mm-hmm.
The Giants don't have to deal with that. Now, the resources differential is clearly there. Steve Cohen is much more willing to spend, but it is a good call. For the sake of this exercise, I don't think they're involved. So, Kratz, what do you think? If, let's say, those are the three finalists, where do you think Cody goes? Does he go with the sexy new trend of more money at a shorter term and still the guarantee? Let's say it's 3 years, but he gets a lot more on the average annual value like a Bo Bichette gets? Or does he go with the Bronx, safe, I'm in one spot, I don't have to worry about anything else. They'll probably give him a no-trade clause if he wants, and he doesn't have to deal with these opt-out contracts because he has been a part of them in the past. He's made good money off of them. So just curious where you think he lands here.
I think it's the Yankees. I think it's the Bronx, and I think the worst thing for the Yankees would be if the Mets would be getting in a bidding war with them. And they said, the Yankees have come out and said, we're not going to get in a bidding war. Our offer is our offer, and it's a very good offer. So you can't lose Juan Soto and Cody Bellinger in 2 back-to-back years. I don't think other teams are going to be willing to go the guaranteed amount that he's getting from the Yankees. Now, if somebody steps in and does, that'd be great for Cody to beat it. The Blue Jays have to beat the Yankees. The Blue Jays have to beat the Yankees offer, in my opinion, for him to go to a place where he hasn't been yet. And it seems like all indications seem like he really liked playing in New York. But the biggest thing for me is the fact that I don't know any players that are like, it's fine, I'll just continue to go year for year. There was one guy who said, I'm going to go year to year forever, and he signed a 3-year deal too. But you can say all you want. I just think Cody's been through it so much that it seems like, completely outsider's view, and I could be completely wrong. I don't know Cody at all, but it's time to not always be the guy that has to prove it. There's some semblance of, it's a free agent year. I got to prove it. As a guy who always had to prove it in a different way, like I had to prove it to stay on a roster, that part can get tiring. It can get like, okay, it's got to be the next thing. And it's like, instead of getting like in a groove, that I think the Yankees deal is going to end up being the best deal for him. And I think that's what he wants in his career, and he'll end his career as a Yankee.
That guy who wanted 1-year deals, he's out of baseball now too. Just FYI, people who don't know, you have to figure out who that person is. Huh?
You could say the name. Why? Voldemort, right?
Voldemort. Thou shalt not be named. But anyway,
I don't want to get sued. I'm not saying it.
No, now you might. That's why I didn't say it.
I don't care. Sue me.
Okay. But Bellinger to the Yankees just is what it's like. It has to happen. It's like when the Yankees traded for Juan Soto that offseason, it had to. As soon as Juan Soto was put out there, everyone was like, he has to go to the Yankees. And it felt inevitable, right? Well, that's what I feel like this Bellinger to the Yankees feels like. It feels inevitable because, honestly, we've asked all the experts, Jim Bowden, Ken Rosenthal, every expert we have on, and nobody can give us another team.
Yes, they can.
Well, I mean,
Mets and Blue Jays.
But that we've actually heard the Yankees have said, here's our offer. This is what we're giving them. And the Blue Jays and the Mets, but then the Mets go sign Bichette. the Blue Jays do some other things.
Well, what though? See, that's the X factor.
I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know what's out
offer?
there. I don't know. Again, I'm not Scott Boras. I don't know.
That's my question. So going back to another CBA thing, owners and league want a signing deadline.
Why? Because it would help them.
Controls pricing, and then baseball for 2 more months would be boring.
What would we
be talking about today?
What did Erik just say on here?
Wait, but this is
when
important.
he goes, but listen, when he goes year to year, they put pressure on me, so I knew I had to perform. Can you imagine if there was a signing deadline on January 2nd, how much pressure would be on the players? And then teams would just sit back and go, we're just going to offer every year, buddy, 1 year, $5 million, and people are going to have to take it.
Yeah,
because
it's never going to happen.
Because you know why? Because they have to sign by January 2nd, or they don't get to play this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, it'd be unbelievably stupid.
We could take a month off because nothing would happen. It would be boring. But anyway, the point of me bringing this up is that in addition to all of the reasons why players and even fans have listed that it would make sense, and I know there are some people that are like, oh, I just want to see the signings happen already. They do happen. They just trickle in. Owners change their minds. The Mets can say whatever they want about Bo Bichette. They were not super seriously into Bo Bichette until 5 seconds after they realized they weren't getting Kyle Tucker. I could make the same case for the Blue Jays and Cody Bellinger. Did we hear them linked to him? Not much. All of a sudden, I do think they're seriously involved in someone like Cody Bellinger, right?
Maybe.
They are losing outfielders after this coming season, and Belly's bat fits there. You know, they've created a really nice, versatile lineup that they think depth-wise is going to get them through the season, but one more piece really puts them over the top in my mind. They're already, I think, the front runner in the American League East, but this would really be the icing on the cake. They were going for Kyle Tucker. This is going to cost them less on a per-season basis for sure than Kyle Tucker. This, Kratz, is why I think teams/owners and front offices change their mind or get involved in things very late in an offseason. So if you take that away, then you don't have that activity, right? If Bo had to sign by whatever date, then the Mets aren't in on Bo. So same concept here for the Blue Jays. All of a sudden, he was more in like the B tier for them in terms of interest, and I think he jumps up. And that's why it actually puts the Yankees in a tougher spot. For most of the offseason, I think the Yankees were like, we like you. We want you. We think we have the best offer / kind of know we have the best offer. And then all of a sudden, other teams emerge late and go, this is the best guy available. And we didn't get someone in Kyle Tucker who we really thought we had a good chance at. So anyway, that's why I think the market changes and we could get surprised. The Blue Jays can easily beat the Yankees. The one thing we've learned from these reports, unless they're totally off, and I don't think they are, is that the Yankees are sticking to their offer. They feel like they've offered him something nice. And I agree with them. It is a nice offer. But that doesn't mean the Blue Jays can't swoop in and say, cool, your best offer is 5/160 with some opt-outs. We'll give you 6/185 with more opt-outs. And then he goes up there and says, hey, you thought you were the only one dancing, but you're not.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can have, because situations change is the biggest thing that you said, Scott, is the fact that maybe the Blue Jays were like, oh, we made a great offer to Kyle Tucker. No way he turns down 10 years, $350 million. Well, that was less than a week ago. Now you got to change. If we had a deadline, that offer would be made. He would sign, deadline would happen, and all of a sudden, the Blue Jays wouldn't have a team. So a deadline wouldn't help. Like wouldn't help the teams who want to win because they want to put the best players out there. And maybe that's why Cody's like, you know what? I won't need to make a decision. I'll just wait and see if the Blue Jays, who just missed out on the guy who they thought was their one, I'll be their number 2 choice. And maybe that offer that they originally made goes up a little bit higher. It's a great dance. It's a great, back and forth. And I commend the Blue Jays for being in on pretty much every top-notch free agent this offseason. And I commend the Yankees for not getting anything done this offseason, but sticking to their guns on what they think is Cody Bellinger is worth. Because there's a lot of teams that are like, well, we'll do this, we'll do that. I know the Phillies, they're like, hey, we're going to give you market value. We're going to give you what you are worth. That's all fine and dandy as long as you're okay with not losing him, not losing that player.
Here's my question. People that want a signing deadline, okay? Let's say the signing deadline is January 1st. Who got hurt, yesterday or 2 days ago?
Ha-Seong Kim.
Ha-Seong Kim. There's no sign. You can't sign anybody. What do the Braves do? You have to make a trade?
Yeah, but that's not easy.
Okay.
Teams are so annoying about
That's what
trades.
I'm saying. Like,
That's a whole nother topic.
What good does a signing deadline do? If that's your free agent, you sign him to a free agent deal, and he gets hurt after the free agent deadline. What happens to the guys who are after the free agent deadline? They have to take the year off? They have to sign a minor league deal? They have to sign what?
Oh.
Banana ball.
I don't know. Do you see like that? This is one of the because okay, I'll say this. Like I use Justin Verlander, right? I said I saw him the other day, and when we talked to Ken, he's waiting on somebody possibly to get hurt. He doesn't want anyone to get hurt, but let's say whoever like I'll use Garrett Cole for example. He got hurt in spring training last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone like that gets hurt for the Yankees this year, guess who they're going to call? Justin Verlander. Hey Justin, could you be ready in 3 weeks to pitch in May for us? Absolutely, guys. Okay, boom. Here you go. Here's your 1 year, whatever it is, 10, 12, 15, whatever they come to terms with, right?
Yeah, pitchers should wait sometimes. It hurts them. It hurts many of them because they're not necessarily ready in spring training. But we have so many arm injuries that it does often benefit both sides to wait. Sometimes a team doesn't have an opening. All of a sudden they have an opening. Oh my gosh, every time spring training starts up and we get the TJ rush in the first 10 days, this guy needs CJ.
Once games start,
once they ramp,
BP start. Oh yeah, it happens to everybody.
All right, I have one comment. If you want to suffice the fans who are saying, "Well, I want to know where they're going to go." Yeah, we all want to know, but that's the exciting part of it. If you want to have a deadline, I would be in favor of a trade deadline in the offseason. Your trades don't get done, then you have to move on. You can't trade the Freddie Peralta. Now that could be a player's point of view because I think the ability to have somebody like if Tarik Skubal was out there, Freddie Peralta, who's a number one, like out there on the market, it's hurting Framber Valdez's market. It may have even been hurting a little bit Rangers' market. Well, now Rangers signed. And the fact that they're under contracts that are not negotiated in the free market, like free agents, teams view them as more valuable because free agents are going to cost you more millions for more years. So I'd be up for a trade deadline ending January 10th. Give a little bit of time after Christmas, no more trades after January 10th. Then every team's like, okay, well, we can't do any trades anymore. We got to go after the guys who are left.
But when does the trade deadline end? Spring training starts? That doesn't make any sense either because, okay, it ends January 10th, and then the first day of spring training, you're allowed to trade because guys have opt-outs, guys are out of options, guys have all these things. So then they have – so opening day?
Yeah, April 1st.
Okay, so then what about the guys that don't have options? They get traded at the end of spring training because they're out of options, and they're like, oh, we'll trade them to another team for an A-ball kid or something, right? Like that doesn't make any. Why do we want to put trade deadlines?
I liked the idea
because also Ha-Seong Kim gets hurt.
Yes, trade.
Look at the list of free agent shortstops.
I can't find it.
IKF and Tim Anderson are on the MLB list. Okay, so then they're not allowed to trade because he got hurt after that. No, that's dumb. Like I'm sorry, Kratz. This is not. We don't need deadlines.
I agree.
You know what the deadline is? When opening day hits, most of the time.
Right, because then you're rolling.
Or it's usually about a week before opening day because they want to get guys there before. But I remember the Braves, when I was on the Braves, we traded Craig Kimbrell like the day before opening day, and we got Cameron Maybin, and I forget who else we got from the Padres, but they traded him literally like the day before the season started. We were breaking camp, and also like Kimbrell got traded. Wait, what? Didn't the season start tomorrow? Something crazy like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know how you can't have deadlines.
No.
Especially in the offseason, you can't have deadlines for baseball because it plays out too much.
They want their winter meetings to be bigger. So I was like, maybe you do a trade deadline for a month so it at least stops that for a little. And you say, hey, last day of winter meetings is when you can make a trade for a little. But I get what you're saying. It's complicated. So anyway, we don't have time for it, or at least any more time for now. Let's get to our next guest.
Battle up.
Here comes Jim Salisbury from the Phillies Show. The show is getting a ton of attention in Philadelphia all the time, but a lot of national attention lately for some topics, which we'll get to. Jim, great to see you. And I'm going to start spicy. You know we like to bring it and be very straightforward. How pissed are the Phillies that they did not land Bo Bichette when they felt as if he was signing there?
Phillies fans are ticked off, and I sense the front office is a lot more ticked off than they are letting on. They were quite surprised they didn't get that thing to the finish line. They went to bed on Thursday night thinking they were going to get a deal done, Those are the words of Dave Dombrowski just a couple of hours ago. The Mets swooped in, went short-term, humongo AAV. The Phillies did not have an appetite for a deal like that. It's been their MO to spread things out, ease tax burden with the AAV. So, he would have been a great fit because obviously a very, very gifted hitter. There were 6 300 hitters in baseball last year. He was one of them. Now all of a sudden you have 2 of them with Trey Turner, a guy that can make a run at 200 hits. He can control the strike zone, and he's right-handed and he's young. 2 things they really need. They need some youth. They need some right-handed in the middle of that lineup to protect their 2 big left-handed sluggers, Schwarber and Harper. It would have been a great fit. They thought they were on a path to get something done. They met the number Bichette was looking for, and poof. We've heard a lot about, when Steve Cohen took over, there was a lot of talk about him and John Middleton kind of being competitors, and we haven't seen a lot of it since, until this moment. They kind of the Mets beat out the Phillies on this one, and the Phillies are smarting a little bit. Yes, Dave Dombrowski used the expression gut punch.
Yeah. Was the number what we heard, 7 years, $200 million? Is that what – because that's kind of what's been reported. And then the Mets just said, that we lost Tucker, we lost all these things, wham. What is Bo Bichette's reaction going to be when he walks into Citizens Bank the first time? I mean – how bad is this poor guy going to get it?
Yeah, he might want to add another O to his first name. He's going to get it.
Were those numbers correct, though, do you think? Was the 7 years, $200 million, was that correct?
That's what I've heard, that those are right there. Right from the beginning when they were starting to dip their toe in the water, like a week or so ago, and you started hearing about this Zoom and you started to check it out a little bit, you're hearing that they're willing to do something in the $200 million range, willing to go $200 million. At first I heard they might be thinking like 8 and 200. They go 7 and 200. That's 28 and 28.5 million AAV. A lot of money, but obviously the Mets come in short term at 42 plus per season, or 42 per season. It just kind of blows them away. And the Phillies just weren't, willing to go there. But you mentioned Tucker, that was a pivot for the Mets. They had a bag full of money and they threw it at Bichette, really good hitter. Now they had spoken to him throughout, I guess, the offseason as far back as the GM meeting. So I don't think he just burst on their screen. He was someone that they had thought about, but they clearly had prioritized Tucker, made a pivot to Bichette, and gut punch on the Phillies.
Everybody hears the $200 million. We're going to find out soon what Bellinger is going to get. Do Phillies fans have a right to say, wait, if there was $200 million, why were we not shopping what else is out there? Because we're going to have Adolis Garcia's under 300 on base percentage, potential of hitting 35 home runs in the bank. Absolutely. But we're going to have that in right field, and it could have been Bellinger if we had this $200 million, or do they have a right to be angry about that because this team looks the exact same as it did the last 3 or 4 years?
They can be angry about anything they want. The Phillies, it doesn't sound like they're going to pivot toward Bellinger. And speaking with Dave Dombrowski, he kind of shot down the notion that they'd be continuing to shop at the high end of the market. I think Bichette, like I said, with the youth and the right-handed bat and the production, he was kind of an opportunity they couldn't walk away from. I mean, right from the get-go coming into the offseason, re-signing Schwarber, re-signing Real Muto was their priority. Real Muto was jumped over just by the fact that Bichette was still available. So now they've earmarked dollars toward Real Muto. I don't know that they can make that pivot, but fans, they're always going to want more, and especially after, especially after the last 3 off seasons. 22 they get there with house money, they get to the World Series. 23 they're just absolutely putting people through the meat grinder, and then they just fall flat on their face in the NLCS against Arizona. They just beat themselves. They did not hit. The last 2 seasons, they don't get past the division series, and a lot of it self-inflicted wounds. This bullpen, last 2 postseasons, I should say, the Phillies have played 8 games. The bullpen has a 6.5 ERA, 5 blown saves. They didn't run the bases well. They didn't hit timely against the Dodgers, and they played very poor defense this past October against the Dodgers. So they have really beaten themselves. There's a lot of frustration in town, a lot of anger in town. It's pretty close to the boiling point. If it's not at the boiling point, and losing Bo Bichette certainly has contributed to that. And you see a guy like Bellinger out there, and you say, well, why not? They're not going to. They don't seem to be having an appetite to make that pivot. Dombrowski said he's content with his roster. I think they're good enough to get to October again, and then you just gotta play a lot better baseball than they have the last couple of years.
You've covered Dave Dombrowski's entire tenure in Philly. Has he ever not gotten a superstar that he's gone after?
Well, they went after Yamamoto, so they didn't get that one. But I don't think they were going to get that one anyway. That would seem to be a Dodgers deal all the way, even though the Phillies offered an awful lot of money. He is a guy that locks in on a superstar. That's like, it's funny you say that, Kratz. He has kind of monitoring it all last week, talking to people. A number of people said that to me. Like, when this guy locks in on a superstar, when he locks in on a star, he gets them. So other than the Yamamoto, I would think this is probably the first time I can remember, at least in Philadelphia. I mean, Dave had a great quote a couple of years ago at the winter meetings. He said, "You win with stars." He likes stars. He likes his pitchers, 6'3", throwing 99, and he likes stars. Didn't get this one.
Shocking. I'm shocked because he almost always gets, like we said, we talked about when Dave Dombrowski says, "I'm going in on this guy." I'm going. Right. Well, they pivoted to JT. But they signed Bo. Do they have JT? Because now there's people saying they overpaid for JT because of his age and his production was down last year. We all know how valuable he is to the Phillies and what he's done for this team and what he does for the pitching staff. But would JT have gotten this contract 3 years for $45 if the Phillies signed Bo Bichette? Did they have the financial wherewithal to do both, or is JT thankful that Bo didn't sign?
I don't think JT is here if they completed that deal with Bo Bichette, AJ. And Dombrowski essentially confirmed that earlier today in a Zoom with reporters. JT kind of confirmed that, he felt like if they had gotten that quote unquote opportunity done, that he would have been moving on somewhere else. He actually said it felt like there was this little period where he didn't think he was coming back, and he said it was almost like a mourning period. I feel pretty comfortable saying that JT would not have been here because they would have taken the money earmarked for him, and as well, they would have moved on from someone in their infield, trimming more payroll to help them get the money they needed to make the Bichette deal happen. So JT is back. Dave said when he heard the next morning that Tucker had gone to the Dodgers, the Mets swoop in, they get Bichette. It took him less than an hour to call JT's agent. They upped their offer, and they got that done. So there was, both sides were ready to move on. Matter of fact, JT spoke on the same Zoom call a little earlier today than Dombrowski. And, I've done a lot of these, press conferences where a guy signs a free agent deal, where a guy returns to an organization after after being a free agent, and there's always a celebratory tone in these Zooms or these press conferences. To me, this one it lacked that. There was a little bit of a joylessness to it. I mean, everybody's happy he's back. He's happy to be back, but it didn't feel like one of those celebratory news conferences. It felt like, okay, I'm here. I was almost gone. Let's see where this thing goes. It had a different feel to it for me as someone who's seen a lot of those events.
Okay, well, that kind of is my question. Should the Phillies fans listen? I love JT. I think he's still one of the better catchers in baseball, if not, I mean, where he was at his peak, right? But what would have been better for him? And this is just your opinion, obviously, but if they would have signed Bo and not brought back JT and then had to move a Stott or a Bohm and maybe had to use a different catcher, go find a catcher, because everyone, including our Scott Braun, have said, hey, maybe they need to shake it up a little bit and get younger and get more athletic. So which one do you think is better for the Phillies, not only this year, but 2 years from now?
Look, I think they would have, if you had Bo Bichette and you had to subtract JT, as much as I'm a JT fan, I just think what he does for that ball club from the clubhouse to game prep with the pitching staff, to leading the pitching staff, to actually behind the plate, reading swings, making in-game adjustments. I just think there's so much value to that, almost value that you cannot put a dollar sign on. But I do think if you could have added Bo Bichette's right-handed bat, 190 hits, 28 home runs, close to 100 RBIs, and behind those two left-handed hitters, I think you're probably a better team because you're better in the lineup. That said, I have no problem with JT coming back. I think they would have missed JT enormously because I don't think they have anybody stepping in the organization. They would have had to go out and sign a Victor Caratini as a plan B, and you're just not as good behind the plate with that setup. I know a lot of folks see this as an overpay to go 3 years on JT Realmuto. And you can make that case. But I would counter with this. Would you have felt more comfortable with JT on a $2 million when an organization is already spending $18 million on Taijuan Walker, who's going to be your 7th or 8th starter? When an organization's already going to be paying Nick Castellanos $19+ million to play right field for somebody else? At least JT is going to be here for 3 years. If he becomes a high-priced backup in his 3rd year, at least it's mentoring people. I don't have any problem with the overpay. Teams do this all the time. Guys get the extra year. This club is loaded with guys who got the extra year, contracts that could be cumbersome, if not ugly, at the end. This one at $15 million ain't going to be that ugly, in my opinion, for a franchise worth $3.1 billion.
Very rarely do we ever talk about a bench coach hiring. When it's Donnie Baseball, when it's Don Mattingly, it becomes more newsworthy. Is it also something that's more newsworthy that there isn't anybody that played in the big leagues on the current staff and now they have somebody in Donnie Baseball? Is there some thought process behind that to be kind of like a sounding board, like, hey, I remember what this was like, and bringing in a guy like Donnie Baseball gives the coaching staff a little bit more cachet?
No question. Something that Rob Thompson talked about is, they have a handful of guys who did play in the big leagues, but they didn't have the type of career that Mattingly had. And Thompson has come out and said that, just as you put it, that this is the guy who can be a sounding board for our players and our stars. So it was something that lacked on the coaching staff, and now they've addressed it. No player can stand off in a corner of the clubhouse and, mutter about the coaching staff not having big league playing experience. They got a guy who probably should be in the Hall of Fame, a guy who won a batting title, guy who was an MVP, guy who played under the brightest lights in New York City. I think he's a good addition in Philadelphia.
Jim, good stuff.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Enjoy Twitter wars, Jim. Phillies Show. You guys enjoy your Twitter wars, okay?
They're fun.
I mean, you guys.
Who do I have Twitter wars? No Twitter wars here. No Twitter wars.
Well, you guys have been taking the brunt of some stuff, and I'm here for it.
No, Ruben's been battling.
Ruben's been in it.
Ruben's been battling.
Yeah.
You see, Jim, Ruben's getting after it. I like it.
Yeah, Ruben likes to mix it up in the corners. I'm more of a observer.
I would say you're a silent assassin, if anything, right? You pick and choose your spots, but it also mostly gets put out in the show versus online. Fair?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, save it for the show, right? Tune in.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Come to the Phillies show, right?
Yeah. Nice little hoodie there, too. I like it.
You like that?
Yeah.
I got to get Kratzy one because I know he's a great Philly.
There you go, Kratz.
Is that a Phillies hat?
No.
Can't tell you. 20 minutes.
Can't tell you. You got to watch the rest of the show, Jim.
Kratz Hatz in the last minute of the show, but also I just got the Phillies Show shirt, so I will wear that at some point when it's not 46 degrees in Orlando because it's a t-shirt. Jim, great to talk. Appreciate you, and everyone can catch you on the Phillies Show. We'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, as we say on the Phillies Show, I'll smell you later, boys.
Smell you later. That's right. That and more on the Phillies Show, part of the FT Network. It's Todd, it's Jim, and it's Ruben. You don't even need to say the last names. You just know. Hey, a little shout out that will be at the Playmakers Classic coming soon. It is AJ Pierzynski and some special guests. I think there's one other special guest hosting that I don't know if I should say yet, but the Playmakers Classic is going down in Arizona, and we were waiting for a little to make sure we got all our ducks in a row with the spring training schedule. That involves talking to the teams and making sure we can hit camps on certain days. We're going to have the biggest spring training tour in baseball. I can say that with pretty full confidence that we'll be hitting camps over a larger period of days than any other outlet out there. In terms of show podcast world, I don't want to speak for the writing side. They do a great job, all the different publications out there. But 4th Annual Playmakers Classic is February 18th, downtown Phoenix. AJ will be there, drink in hand, doing some foul territory. Playerstrust.org or the QR code on your screen to get yourself a ticket.
I'm excited. I can't wait. Can't wait to go to this. Again, we got to go a couple years ago, and we get to go again, or I get to go again, and there's no mouse in my pocket. So I get to go again, and we're going to do, I don't know, are you guys going to do the show remotely or am I just going to have to eat, drink, be happy, listen to music, and interview people at the same time?
I think we might be involved, but you're also going to have help. There's going to be at least one other out there.
I mean, I can multitask like the greatest people on earth, but I don't know if I can do everything.
Yeah, I think you'll have help. I know life's tough when you're going to an event that has...
And then just think I'm going to be at a camp that morning.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to play golf. And then I'm going to have to go to this.
Right. Drink in hand.
Think how
concert,
tired I'm going to be.
Hundreds of players to talk to.
I want everyone to feel sorry for me.
I'm excited to get the guest list at some point so we can pick out who we're most excited to chat with in person. But anyway, celebrating 30 years of player-powered impact, all for a great cause. We've talked about it a lot. We like to promote stuff like this, and we try to get to events like this. So we're excited about it. Check it out, playerstrust.org. BetMGM futures. Regular season wins for the Chicago Cubs. The number is at 88.5. Let's go to our Cubs hater, our resident Cubs hater, AJ Pierzynski, and see if he's taking the over or the under on the Cubbies.
162.
Okay,
Under.
but what about that's your heart. What about your brain?
What was that number again? 88.5?
They added Edward. Yes, they added Edward Cabrera. They added Alex Bregman.
Alex Bregman, obviously. They lost Kyle Tucker.
Their division hasn't done shit.
They'll get Justin Steele back at some point. I think they're 90. Gosh, it hurts my heart to say. I think they're going to go over because I think the Cardinals are going to be worse.
Oh, way
Pirates
worse.
should be better.
Yep.
I think finally I know we say this all the time. Brewers might take a little step back.
Mm-hmm.
And the Reds are going to be around 500 like they have every other year. So I think this is the time for the Cubs to capitalize on this, and I think they win 90, and they probably win the division.
Wow. I don't know how you're going to top that, Kratz.
Just like your boy Hawk said, this is over. It's going to go over. They might be a 92-win team this year. Cubs, 92 wins. Lock it in.
Proud of you guys. You guys are hard on the Cubs sometimes, and that's fine.
Rightly so. They were mediocre. They were a 500 team that had a hot stretch.
I feel like I'm pretty much right on when it comes to the Cubs. I think most people that I associate with myself, especially from the South side, feel like I'm pretty much right on when it comes to my Cubs talk.
I would say that's accurate, but then the North side has other thoughts. And other parts of the Midwest, they have other thoughts.
Where's that?
Even if you don't know where that is, have you heard of Iowa?
I've been to Iowa many times.
A lot of Cubs fans
Not
there.
even. Send me to Iowa. I'm not even
some White
from there.
Sox fans. I mean, the Iowa Cubs.
That helps.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they get to see the Cubs before the Cubs.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I'll join you guys. I'll go over. It's not my favorite play because I don't think they're flying over, but I think they're going over. I do. I'm with you, Kratz. I think the ceiling is in the 92-ish range. I think, man, I mean, right now for me, I think the floor is pretty high. It'd be hard to see them just
tanking.
Yeah, falling apart. I mean, sure, pitching injuries can happen, but they're starting to build a little depth on that department. So
listen, Horton's going to be back for his second year.
Yep.
Imanaga's back. Steele's coming back at some point. They have Matthew Boyd. They have Tyon. They have Cabrera. They're 6.
It's a good start.
They've made some things in their bullpen. They've done some nice moves in their bullpen.
Oh, yeah, a lot.
They've added Bregman. Another year for Bush. Swanson's solid as they come. The key to me is what's PCA do? Which PCA do they get? Do they get the first half PCA or do they get the second half PCA? Because there's a major difference.
I'll take the middle. That works. Yeah. If it's the middle, so first half PCA was a superstar.
Yeah.
Agreed?
He was MVP there for a month and a half, 2 months.
That was a superstar. So if you even take a notch down of that, right? The defense should be elite. So we've already got that.
Defense doesn't slump.
Right. Base running's there. If the bat can be at a level that's like a little above league average versus way above league average, that's actually a star player. Kratz, do you agree?
Yes. Because of where his defense is. Yes.
Yeah. People have been pointing out how they're trying to make more metrics now with the wind and the sun and all kinds of things that are difficult at Wrigley and how PCA is doing well there.
Not every ballpark, but every outdoor ballpark, Scott, has wind and sun.
I understand, but they're not all treated equally.
Yeah, but it's different. You can't, just because it's blowing it, every player makes the adjustment in game. All of a sudden, you're not just seeing wind just cut and turn on a certain play, and then you're making those adjustments in every field. The sun is at every field. There's, I think it's a little overblown.
Because there's some that have roofs. There's the Trop that has a roof and there's no sun. So not every field has sun.
I don't want to point players
Scott doesn't
out.
understand this, though.
I don't want to point players out, but I will. For example, right? I'll watch a good share of Mets games. There were a few times where you're like, Juan Soto is confused with where the ball's going to go.
Wow.
And you just don't see that from PCA. Sorry, Juan. It's not just you. There are many others. But there's a few late in the season coming to mind from him where I'm like, some guys can't adjust to that as well as others. So it's a thing, right? And it's also more of a thing at Wrigley. I mean, come on.
Sometimes
Wrigley
people
has
more gifted, though, in the field than other people.
Yeah. So anyway, point is, PCA should be a star player, and he was a superstar in the first half of the season. We'll see what the bat looks like for them. But these guys, including me, all like the Cubs to go over. BetMGM players will receive an any sport parlay boost token. And now we don't have any more college football. I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, to use the parlay boost token on sports like NBA, NHL, and eventually the WBC, add a parlay wager made up of any sport wagers to your bet slip. Activate the token. If you win, that token means extra winnings for you. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk Hall of Fame. Today's the day. The announcement is going to come around 6. I think that's when the show starts. You'll probably get the announcement at 6:45 or something. That's TV for you. They keep you there. They give you the commercials. But anyway, eventually we'll find out.
They go through all 100 candidates on the list and explain why each one should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. They do the whole song and dance, or you can just check Twitter later on. But anyway, yeah, it'll probably be close to 7 p.m. No, it's a good show. It's worth watching. You get to hear from some of the guys. But anyway, many people are going to be watching our show, and listening to our show, and we already have an answer. So what do you think of Beltran probably getting in and Andrew Jones?
Was this Andrew's last year?
No. So
he's got one more, right?
But what I've been told is that if he doesn't get in this year, he's a lock next year, which is
I
kind of
think he
stupid.
gets in this. I think he gets in this year just because. And this is not a knock on any of the guys on the ballot, because you can say, oh, well, you didn't get in either. I was on a ballot. I got 2 votes. Okay. So there's just not a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer of the new guys that were added this year. So that's how, when they say, oh, well, guys get big bumps and jumps and all this, it's because there's certain people that are taken off the ballot. Bonds, Clemens, those guys are now gone. And then the new group comes in, and there is not a lot of surefire Hall of Famer. I don't know if there's definitely not a first ballot Hall of Famer on this new list. But I don't know that there's a surefire Hall of Famer on this new ballot of list of guys. So you'll see a bump for Utley, Rollins, Felix, Andrew Jones, these guys, right? Hopefully Burley, Torrey Hunter. You'll get some bumps, right? It looked like Andrew Jones was a lock, but then they always say, well, if he's at 70% or whatever, 80%, then that falls because the people who don't release their ballots, it's not always the number. They usually come in lower than what the people that release them. So yes. I'm pretty sure Beltran's going to get in, well-deserved. And I'm pretty sure that Andrew Jones is going to get in, if not this year, then next year. So well-deserved, man. I mean, it's awesome. What an amazing achievement, especially for those guys. And listen, if Andrew Jones gets in from, Curacao and down there, that's a big thing for that island down there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've been on the Andrew Jones train for a while now because I think he's getting punished for the late stages of his career, but I think he had enough of a prime window, especially now with the way that voting's going down, and I'm fine with it. We just had this conversation on a different segment. The voting process has to change because you're not going to hit some of those milestone numbers. And Andrew Jones actually put up like some of the counting stats are looking for, say, home runs.
But 400 homers, 10 gold gloves.
He's the best defensive center fielder, if not top 3, of a long period of time, right? Of an era, one of the best all time, the whole deal. Like, you had that, and he wasn't a nothing on offense. He was a very impactful offensive player for a good chunk of time, and then he went through something that's natural. It's called the aging process, but he still played for a bit, and that hurt his rate stats. So I think that the crowd has been off on him for a while now, and it appears as if it'll finally fix itself either this year or next year. I was also surprised to see Beltran, I forgot, has already been on the ballot for several years. I think this is his 4th run at this point. But anyway, overall thoughts from you, Kratz?
I mean, I think Beltran's the best switch hitter that I ever saw live. I mean, I saw Chipper Jones at the end of his career. I saw Beltran a little bit closer to, a little bit more closer to his prime, because I think they played like 3 or 4 more years after Chipper Jones. But those two guys, and I think he was probably one of the more underrated players because he was in KC and nobody really knew about him until he burst on the scene in Houston. I think Andrew Jones, like, obviously it's Hall of Fame voting time and everything. Some of the stats that are coming out there about his defense and like different guys that you would respect what they said about the fact that I think Bobby Cox was the one that said he's the 2nd best outfielder he's ever seen behind Willie Mays. I just think it's something. I hope both of them get in, and the whole wait another year. I think that would suck for Andrew. So I hope he gets in this year. I hope he gets in just by the skin of his teeth.
By the way, if Andrew does get in, which I hope he does, again, I fought this fight. Torrey Hunter and Jim Edmonds, who's not even on the ballot, need to be looked at more closely. I mean, Jim only had 8 gold gloves. But he's got, OPS plus of 132. Andrew Jones' OPS plus is 111. I mean,
that's better though.
What do you think's hurting?
Okay.
What do you think's hurting Torrey?
Okay, but Torrey Hunter, this is just Torrey Hunter. Forget Jim Evans. And obviously I have a special place in my heart for Torrey. We played together from the minor leagues all the way up. Gold gloves, 9. Andrew Jones, 10. So 9 years in a row, Torrey Hunter won the AL Gold Glove. Andrew Jones did it 10 years in a row. Torrey Hunter, 2 Silver Sluggers. Andrew Jones, 1. Neither won a World Series. 5 All-Star games. Andrew Jones in 2005 did win the RBI title and a home run title. Okay, fine. More games for Torrey. 30-point higher batting average for Torrey. Now, he's 80 home runs behind, so that's fine. But more RBIs, 500 more hits, almost 100 more runs, almost over 100 more doubles, more triples, less strikeouts.
I got
slugging percentage almost close, on base almost close. OPS plus 111 to 110. WAR 62.8 to 50.
That's the big one that.
Okay, but if you look at the stats,
I think they should both be in.
But explain to me how Andrew Jones has 62.8 WAR and Torrey Hunter has 50 WAR. So is there 12.8 WAR in that one extra Gold Glove that Andrew won? Like that's what I don't understand. Because if I line their numbers up next to each other, other than the home runs, okay, Torrey has them in almost every other category. So why is Andrew like? Oh, Andrew Jones has to. I watched Torrey Hunter for a long time. He was the best center fielder I ever saw on a daily basis.
Better than Jones?
I didn't see Andrew Jones on a daily basis. I saw Torrey Hunter play every day in center field. I was catching. I'm watching him play center field for year after year. This dude was making catches that I never saw anybody come close to making.
Why do you think he's being held back?
I don't know.
Think he's being held back? Because they're both great dudes. They're
I don't know.
They're very affable. They've always been that guy. There's no controversy around them. To me, there has to be a reason. I don't think somebody just looks up and goes, Torrey Hunter, yeah, I thought he was a good player, but what was his WAR? No, sorry, never mind. Like you're talking about a dude that has over 300 home runs and has 9 Gold Gloves. Like to me, that takes effort then to go, okay, I have to rethink this.
I think some guys are getting punished for playing for a long period of time from rate stats. So like you can't figure out. It's like, okay, so you played too long or you didn't play long enough. I agree with you. I think they both should be in. Jason Stark, who we have on the show often and is looked at as one of the game's historians, voted for Torrey Hunter this year.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, that's my soapbox I'm on this year because I love Andrew. I played with Andrew. I played with Torrey. I think it's kind of like if this guy gets in, then this guy has. For me, it's like Andy Pettitte and Mark Burley. If Andy Pettitte gets in, then Mark Burley has to be in right behind him because if you look at their numbers and Pettitte, the one thing Pettitte had though was he had the postseason because he was on the Yankees, so he got the postseason, so everybody knew him a little bit more, right? That's kind of what happened with Andrew Jones. Everyone goes, well, look at Andrew Jones's like those 10 years when he was winning Gold Gloves. Okay, well, Torrey Hunter had 9 really unbelievable years too, and he won those Gold Gloves, right? So did he play longer? Like, and then we go like we'll use Joe Mauer in this example. Everyone's like, well, there's 6 years Joe Mauer caught. He was so great. First ballot Hall of Famer, right? Well, I mean, if you pick anybody's 6 best years, if they play long enough, you can make an argument that a lot of guys are Hall of Famers. I don't know. It's this is why the Hall of Fame is so polarizing.
Yeah, it's really tough to find center fielders that did it all, right? We still have problems with that.
I mean, Jim Edmonds still. Look at Jim Edmonds' numbers. He won 8 Gold Gloves, right? I mean, he won championship. I mean, there's Kenny Lofton's another one that's an interesting case. And as the numbers in the perspective changes, it just opens it up to more arguments.
Do you feel like it's because Torrey started his career a little bit later? I mean, by the time Torrey was an everyday guy,
who cares?
Then I mean, Andrew Jones was already in his 5th season. Do you think that has to do with it?
Who cares when you start?
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I mean, Torrey was a slower developer. He was going to quit and go play football. I mean, listen,
Right.
I was there for all that stuff with Torrey. We've had him on many times. He's one of the best dudes in the world. And so for people to say, well, you can't, what do you want to check? His personality? He was awesome, right? He played all the time. He never won, but he was on winners. Andrew Jones never won a World Series. He got to him, but he never won them.
He didn't win the one.
He went on the 95 team.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Oh, he was later than that.
He came up in 96, so he never won, and he wasn't on the 95 team. Right? I mean, there's a song, 98 Braves, got outdone by that Padre Magic, Morgan Wallen, right?
Yep.
He was on that team, them Jones boys. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know. We could argue about this until we're blue in the face.
Yeah. They're both great. I'm just going through stats and all that. They both have my vote. That's all we have time for now, but we can do any aftermath. Yeah, we're going to slap in a sec. We can do any aftermath on what we end up seeing with who gets in, but also I wanted to do it today. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow in case there are any other stray single vote getters. I want to talk about that. That's a fun show topic for a few minutes. But anyway, let's slap. We're looking at case studies with.
Yeah. I'm looking at another team, Burley versus Pettitte. And I'm showing like
It's tight.
Oh.
it's there's so much you can put this and that. It's like okay, so Pettit gets in because he had more postseason. Well, that's not Burley's fault that we weren't as good as the Yankees were for all. So that's why I have a hard time when Burley pitched in the postseason, he pitched well. I mean, he closed the game out drunk one time. So, anyways, whatever.
I want to see drunk stats for each player.
Yeah, I bet
Babe Ruth won.
Yeah.
Wins.
I can name you some other guys that did some stuff too.
Yeah, that would be a fun segment. Anyone want that? Last thing today, besides Kratz Hatz, let's do that, and then I'll load this up.
I really found my Minnesota Twins hat, and not sure they found the offseason yet. So I feel like if somebody needs a really good defensive outfielder that also hits for power, the Twins could make a huge splash by trading someone who doesn't want to be traded in Byron Buxton.
Except he will at the trade deadline when they're terrible. They signed Victor Caratini, which is nice. I didn't even know that was the fit they needed because they have Ryan Jeffers. Maybe they're going to trade him. I don't want to get mad. It's only Tuesday. Rangers Fest. So they're not doing signings at the winter warm-up appearances. I think they're going to do signings at the Fan Fest. But they're doing like their little stop-by situation. It's a long tweet. So they're saying that the autograph memorabilia seekers that hog up all the time and they bring a billion things are causing lines to get longer and other fans to miss out on stuff. So there's back and forth discussion on what that is. Can't you also just limit someone, or if someone goes up there and be like, hey, dude, you get one signature?
Yeah, you're supposed to do that. But then the problem with that, as Kratz knows, is if someone comes up to you with 5, and then you're like, okay, I'm only supposed to sign 1. Then the guy's like, oh, but I waited in line for an hour. And then there's the security guard there that, and then it makes you feel bad. So you just are like, just sign them real quick and get them the heck out of here.
What about 1 signature per person?
And you look like a jerk.
Yes. And then they say, but I have 2 kids.
But they're saying,
but I have 2 kids.
No signatures. 2 kids, they can share it. Okay. Teach them sharing.
I'm not about taking away from the fans. Like, I love the fan experience, the autograph. These events get crushed by the autograph seekers. 1 autograph, these guys will do it. They'll put on another jacket. They bring changes of clothes to get back through the same line again. So it really has gotten watered down for the people that the autographs would matter. And I promise you, coming from a player, we want to sign the autographs for the kids, for the people who they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know who you are, Erik Kratz, but thank you for signing it. Like, that means a lot to the players, not the dude that comes with the binder and is like, I've just got 6. Can you just do 6? And that's for me. Like, the guys who are actually good players, they get crushed by stuff. Crushed.
And then they pay the kids to get the rest of them. I mean, that's a real thing. I've heard of those stories too. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. We had a thing. We had our 20th anniversary with the White Sox this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they came and said, hey, we want to do autograph stations for all the players. And I said, well, do we get paid? Because normally when I do sign autographs, I get paid. And they're like, no, this is just for the fans. I'm like, well, the fans have to pay to stand in line? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not signing.
That doesn't make any sense.
And they said, why not? And I said, well, where does the money go? And they're like, well, they didn't really give me an answer. And I was like, well, if the players aren't getting paid, how about this? We'll just do pictures.
Yeah.
We'll do pictures like this. And you know what? It's actually kind of cool.
Yes.
Because everyone comes up, they're happy to see you, and they're like, hey, smile.
It lasts
and they
longer.
have a story for you, right? Justin Velasco's in the chat all the time. He came up and met, I think it was Paul, me, and Jermaine. And we were signing, and people could go from one station to the other and get their picture with whoever their favorite players, and you had time to make 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was cool because you actually get to talk to the people and shake their hand and meet them, as opposed to you're just looking down and you're like,
right. I'm a picture over autograph person.
Me too,
all
because
day.
it's more of a personal experience than just the autograph line. I'm sorry, it is. And even for the players, it's cool because then the man or woman, whoever comes up to you says, hey man, this is my favorite, you're my favorite player. This is the memory I have, or this is what and you're like, this is ridiculous. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like,
except then when you get done, you're like, oh, I need hand sanitizer. I got to wash my hands like 5 times because you're shaking everyone's hand, and my hands get dirty. Their hands are dirty.
This gets tiring.
Yeah, but
Signing,
that's just so
signing,
impersonal to me.
Signing. No, I'm saying it. That's not fun physically either. So this was fun. Thanks, everyone. Oh, tomorrow, JJ Cooper. Big day for Baseball America. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Cedric Mullins, new Tampa Bay Ray outfielder. And Derek Johnson to talk pitching as well as anybody in the game. Good guest list tomorrow. We'll see you then. And remember, Saturday we have a show, Baseball Writers Association of America Awards. We'll be streaming live.